Պետականության from Germany. Please, Professor Պետրոսյան.
So thank you very much for inviting me. I would like also to express my sincere apologies not being physically present in very beautiful city Stepanakia. And also I'm very grateful for inviting me for this very important conference. And I'm also very honored to speak after Professor Desaya and Mr. Chebra. I will concentrate mostly on some issues which were already raised, but mostly in depth. I will raise the international prosecution of international crimes committed during the wars. I'm physically in Nuremberg. This is actually the birthplace of international criminal law. And what Professor Desaya already mentioned, the Nuremberg judgment and Nuremberg principles. There are actually three labels of prosecution of international crimes. One is the International Criminal Court. The second one is the hybrid mechanism of establishing institution or a court for specialized prosecution of international crimes. And the third level, which was already raised in the chat, is the prosecution according to the principle of universal jurisdiction. So starting with the International Criminal Court, there were actually some discussions about activation or recognition of jurisdiction of the ICC through the Republic of Artsakh or the Republic of Armenia. They are similar to the case of State Palestine, and which was actually confirmed this year. That the prosecutor Karim Khan will initiate investigations in the state of Palestine and situation in Palestine. Of course, there can be some similarities with each other, maybe some from political perspective and from legal perspective. However, I don't see that the International Criminal Court will go very far with this idea. This could bring some political active movements in this field, but initiation, investigation, or bringing suspects to the International Criminal Court, this is something very difficult in this situation. Yeah, one important thing which I wanted to express before going depth into the ICL, that everything what was mentioned before is actually relates to state responsibility. And recent report of Mr. Tatoyan and also legal representative of the victims, this mostly relates to the putting pressure on the Republic of Azerbaijan and to have international attention about the war crimes which were happened. But what I'm trying to highlight that besides of the state responsibility and besides of putting political pressure on the Republic of Azerbaijan, there should be also found some ways of putting pressure on the criminals based on the criminal liability. So finding those persons, those perpetrators who were involved in the war crimes and accusing them before different organs or institutions. So one thing is a state responsibility, another thing is a criminal liability of individuals. So the second label is the hybrid mechanism, which is of course because of the political situation and because of political agenda around the conflict. I don't see also some kind of future which could be seen to establish some kind of specialized institution of prosecution international criminals. This is also something very heikel, and I don't really see that coming in the future. But what I see, this is the third level, which is getting more and more development in the international law field, and mostly the prosecution of criminals, international criminals, based on the principle of universal jurisdiction. Since 2015, we see developments in Germany of accusing those refugees who were coming under the umbrella of the refugee, who are coming to the European states and trying to find a safe haven in Europe. They are being identified and accused for committing crimes in Syrian conflict or in or in the Iraqi conflict. And there are already a lot of examples, or a lot of convictions and judgments about the persons who were involved in those conflicts. And I think that this is the future. This is where the international community are concentrating. They are not only the individuals who are actually convicted, but there are also possibility of bringing also the organizations before the court. For example, in France recently was also another judgment about a company in Syria who was involved in the war crimes against humanity in Syria. So there are actually ways how to activate international criminal or individual criminal liability against perpetrators of international crimes. I don't know if you are aware about initiation of the proceedings, but there are already some kind of very small developments in that regard in Sweden, in Germany, and in Argentina, where the Armenian communities made a criminal complaint against war criminals based on the principle of universal jurisdiction. But what still has to be done? There should be investigation. There should be investigation because there are of course limitations how the persons accused for international crime should be put on trial. As soon as the person enters the borders of the country or enters another jurisdiction, that state exactly may have a possibility to prosecute the person, but the state needs that the person enters his jurisdiction. Somehow it is difficult to accuse a person who is somewhere, I don't know, let's say in Papua New Guinea or in Guinea. It is impossible, or it is practically impossible to make this kind of investigation. So what I think that there are possibilities of not only bringing the cases which are related to the recent war, but also to the April war from 2016. There were also a lot of other crimes committed during that war, and those people who were involved in those crimes are actually demobilized, and they are traveling around the world. So nobody really knows where they are, who they are. But as soon as there is some kind of investigative group who can identify those persons, identify and track those persons, there is a possibility. As soon as the person goes outside from the Azerbaijani jurisdiction, there is a possibility to accuse those people. So what is really needed to do that? I see that in Republic of Artsakh and the Republic of Armenia, there are some, of course, some positive movements in that direction, but those movements are somehow isolated. So everybody works for itself. And there is no place where all those information, all those evidence which is collected goes in one particular place, one source where everybody could be informed, what the concerned person could be informed, what exactly happened and who was involved in those crimes. One of the alternative investigation mechanisms is, of course, today very much spoken and discussed, the investigation through the open sources. And the open sources investigations based most on social media platforms where the people post the videos, as we experienced from the recent war in TikTok, in Instagram, in Facebook. All those videos are uploaded, and they are, of course, with assistance of the IT specialists. There is a possibility to track and identify those people who upload the videos and were somehow involved in those areas. I would like also to mention one of the very important points which was raised by Professor Desaya, the hate. We all seen the execution in the video of execution in Hadrut, and this crime, this is something more than an ordinary crime, let's say, because this execution with the flags, with the Artsakh flag on the neck, it's not about only a war crime. It is actually more than war crime. It's crimes against humanity, actually, because those people who were executed, they were not executed because they were soldiers, because they were Armenians, and this means that those intent was in those individuals who were could be actually any Armenian. And the execution, this public execution, in order to spread the terror and then upload the video in the social platforms in order to spread the terror and to tell everyone, as soon as you give up, this fate will be yours, all Armenians. And this is something which could be used also in the international institutions to express or to show this hatred, because as Professor Desaya says, in the international media, there is actually nobody understands what the conflict is about, and nobody wants to really to feel the problem which is in the conflict. It's about hatred and hatred on the ethnical, racial, and national ground. Summarizing this, I know that I have less time, but very important point is that we want to create. After the war, we are somehow in a defensive position. We are trying to defend, justify, but we are not in an offensive position. We don't try to use international mechanism, legal mechanism, to create pressure. Armenia and Artsakh both are now under the very, very strong political pressure. But in order not to justify our steps, we have to act also properly. We have to bring cases. We have to create and use those legal mechanisms which are available. So, International Criminal Court is something which may be still discussed in order to recognize the jurisdiction. Maybe, of course, the lawyers and experts should gather together and understand what kind of the consequences would be, because this can also work as a ricochet. Who knows? The second one, the public, the hybrid mechanism, also for the future, is not really visible. But the third, the universal jurisdiction, prosecution of the international criminals in the domestic jurisdiction in Europe, and because we don't have to forget that every state which is the member of the Rome Statute has an obligation to prosecute and to prosecute international crimes by itself, according to the principle of complementarity. So they will not do that. The prosecutors outside of Armenia, they will not do that until they don't have enough information about the crimes. So it is our task to make investigation by ourselves, to present those investigations, to show with the finger who exactly committed and where that person is, and to bring these cases into the domestic jurisdiction. So thank you very much again. I feel honored, and thank you for having me.
Շնորհակալություն, Dr. Պետրոսյան.